Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
So I want to talk about the big issues that we saw come out of 2025. And I just want to ask, what do you think were the top headlines for the State Senate this year?
I think some of the things we've been working on in the State Senate were the first few bills that we tried to roll out. We did healthy meals for everybody, and we wanted every kid in K-12 school to have a free healthy lunch. Unfortunately, the Republicans are refusing to give that bill a hearing. It's unfortunate because we know when kids have food in their stomachs, they're going to do better in tests, they're going to be better behaved in the classroom. Unfortunately, that didn't make it at all even to a hearing, so we're disappointed in that. Another one of the bills we put forward are, we call it Less for RX, prescription drug costs. We think that's really important. There are a lot of people in our state making decisions around the kitchen table about what medications that they can afford right now. We had a plan where they could afford any medication that they were going to be given so they could stay healthy. And the third bill we put out was a homestead tax credit bill, and we believe that would keep people in their houses for a longer amount of time. So I think really what this session was about was a lot of missed opportunities that we didn't have in the Senate. Now I'm hoping as the new year comes along, we still have session days and we can get these bills done and really help Wisconsinites.
And you're kind of taking my next question right from me, which is kind of what is the unfinished business? I know you just mentioned a couple of things there, but are there any broad topics or other specific pieces of legislation that you think should go forward next year?
I believe healthy meals for schools is really important so that every kid gets a really good lunch and can do well in school. I think kids should be able to thrive no matter where their zip code, no matter where they live. Unfortunately, the Republicans' idea for education is to consolidate and have kids on a bus for maybe up to an hour to and from school. What the Democrats want to do is actually fund education, K-12, and make sure that the students have the resources they need to thrive.
Yeah, and I feel like school funding was a big conversation that kept coming up this year. What have conversations looked like? Obviously, both parties, for Democrats, you need to work with Republicans to get a lot of legislation through. What have conversations looked like with Republicans to talk about school funding?
Well, one of the things I would say that happened that was good this year is we Senate Democrats were brought to the table to work on a state budget. That hasn't happened in years. So we were able to be at the table with Republicans in the Assembly and the Senate, and fortunate we have Governor Tony Evers there as well to talk about the importance of K-12 education. We were able to pass a budget with some money for that. It wasn't, what I would say what I would like to do if the Democrats were in charge, but it was a compromise and it helped move the ball forward.
And do you feel like there's things that you would like to see specifically with school funding next year that have been in the works?
Oh, absolutely. We need to increase general aids. We need to do more for special ed reimbursement. We need to fund schools adequately so every kid, regardless of their zip code, receives a wonderful quality education.
And I want to kind of go down the list here and talk about some other big issues, both statewide and specifically for Democrats. I want to kind of start with abortion. We saw legislation to define abortion in state law this year. Talk to me a little bit about where that stands now.
Well, I think when you talk to people across the state of Wisconsin, people want women to make their own reproductive choices, and they don't want legislators in their examining room. I know half the time I don't want to be in the examining room, my own doctor, and so we shouldn't be on anybody's mind. Those decisions are between a woman, her doctor, and her family. Nobody else should be involved whatsoever. And
I want to move now to childcare. That was something we saw come out of the state budget. Talk to me a little bit about, is that enough, or is there a push for more child care credits, something like that? We need to do more for child care in the state of Wisconsin. Child care counts was really the answer to the problem. Unfortunately, the Republicans refused to go there all the way and put the money in there that we needed them to do, but we need to keep talking about educating kids from birth all the way through the 12th grade and beyond. And have those conversations started with Republicans too?
They continue to happen. Unfortunately, the Republicans are refusing to move on it.
And I want to kind of talk and get your take on what those conversations are like behind closed doors right now. Do you feel like you're making progress with Republican colleagues? I think I have an open door policy. All the Democrats do, so anybody can come to us with any idea, and we try to see if we can, make that bill into something better where we can all support. So our doors are always open. And I want to kind of talk about the power of the state Senate right now and talk about a little bit about this shift, because obviously I think it's 2 seats, if I'm correct, that you need to flip to gain control of the Senate. What does the strategy look like right now?
So we were really fortunate last cycle. We had a Democratic Senate candidate running in every single race in every district in the state of Wisconsin. We have not had that in 20 years. I think what people around the state of Wisconsin know is that these fair maps are truly fair and that good candidates and fair maps matter. So we are looking to flip those districts and take over after the next election cycle.
And are you optimistic about that?
I am optimistic. I think in all these districts, I know Joe Biden won, Kamala Harris won, Tammy Baldwin won, and Governor Tony Evers won all the districts that we are focusing on.
And I want to talk too, because obviously there's a similar situation in the Assembly right now where they need need 5 seats to flip. But there's also an opportunity where this may not happen in both chambers, and it might be one would maintain control by the Republicans and one by Democrats. How would that work? How do you think that would play out? Let's say Senate flips, Assembly stays in GOP control. Is that something that you guys are thinking about? How are we going to handle that?
Well, the Senate is really excited to be in a possible trifecta, but we will continue to work with anybody in the state capitol.
And I want to talk to, if the Senate is in Democrat control, what would that look like?
Well, I think it's going to be exciting. We're really looking forward to actually putting bills and making them into law for what people around the state of Wisconsin want, which includes K-12 funding, healthy meals for kids in schools, prescription drug cost prices. We've been listening to people all around the state talk about the problem with rising costs. People are having a hard time making ends meet. Those are the things that we're focusing on, and those are the bills we're putting out now and in the future.
And I want to talk too about affordability, because a Marquette Law School poll that came out, I think it was like a month or so back, found that, no surprise, affordability, cost of living maintains the highest issue for voters across our state. Do you think that the state legislature addressed affordability enough this year?
I don't believe we have. I mean, the bill I keep mentioning is the healthy meals, and that would help kids in the classroom with, and help them with better grades, retention, all that good stuff. But also would save about $1,200 a year for a family of grocery costs if they were getting free and healthy meals at school. That's a real difference. I have a friend who told me a few weeks ago that she's not going to be getting the Affordable Care Act subsidies. She's going to see an increase $500 on her insurance starting in January. Where are families going to come up with $500 for a family of 4? What are they going to do? So unfortunately, with the chaos and the confusion happening in DC, we can't do anything about that. What we can do is lower your grocery costs by passing this healthy meals in schools for every family.
And we're talking a lot about healthcare, grocery bills, but I remember during the last floor session in November, Republicans held a press conference and said that they have addressed affordability, and cited one of the ways that they had done that was the governor's 400-year partial veto to ensure school funding at a certain level. I'm oversimplifying. But they said that that is a way, addressing school districts going to referendum year after year. Do you think that those are ways that affordability could be addressed, or do you think that that's not really meeting the moment right now?
What we need is actually pass our bill for general aids that would give every school district more money so that they could put more money into the classrooms, and it would also help property tax payers and homeowners. So that's what we need to be doing.
So you think that there's other ways that school funding needs to be addressed?
Absolutely. Special education reimbursement, we need to get more of that. We definitely need to be funding education better than what we're doing in the state of Wisconsin.
And I feel like that's been a conversation for years, and something that people have always been looking to the state legislature for. Do you think that next year could be the year we really see a push forward on that?
I believe we will. If the Democrats are in charge, absolutely we will be there.
And I want to just kind of continue this conversation of top issues going into 2026. You mentioned a couple pieces of legislation, such as that healthy meal and things like that are really top priorities. But what else is kind of top priority day one going into 2026?
Well, I would say something we should all be taking a really close look at and hoping that we can come to some sort of agreement on the stewardship bill. Now, that's going to be something that would be sunsetting this spring. We're really worried about that. Senator Jody Habush-Sinnekin's been working really hard with Republican lawmakers, hoping that we can keep that program going. That started a long time ago, named the Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Fund after 2 governors, one Republican and one Democrat, and signed by Tommy Thompson. This has been a true bipartisan fund for years, and we hope that it can continue to be alive.
Are there any other specifics that you're interested in looking for next year?
Well, the state Senate passed the postpartum bill for women over 60 days. We're hoping it gets through the state assembly. I'm hoping we can, and they can do the breast density bill in the state assembly. I think it's stalled there. And I think I have a bill about a menopausal bill, making sure that people know what menopause and perimenopause is.
And I want to ask too, because a piece of legislation that keeps coming up year after year that hasn't really made any progress is legalizing recreational or medical marijuana. Is that something that you could see making any progress?
We are in conversations. Years ago, I worked with Senator Teston on a medical marijuana bill, and we are continuing to talk to see if that we can get people to yes.
All right, and do you feel like that's coming to a good place, or might need a little bit more work?
We're having really good conversations, so I'm hoping to get to a good place by the end of the session.
And kind of last question for you here is, how do you feel like overall, if you were to give the state Senate a report card, what grade would you give it?
Ooh, I would probably give it a D. Honestly, we haven't been in that often. We've only been, I think, 9 times on the floor this session. We're really not meeting the moment about rising costs and affordability. And when we hear what people are talking about at their kitchen tables, it is about grocery bills and health care and prescription drugs. And unfortunately, the Republicans are refusing to act on any of those important measures.
What would get the Senate to an A?
passing those bills, at least getting hearings so we can hear what people need to say.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. We appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you so much.